Welcome to the Light of Sirio podcast. My name is Dori Fari and I will speak with a realized spiritual master about his views on life and the topic of spirituality.
Hazur Maharaj Singh Ji, you're my Sadgurus, I bow down to you. Hazur Maharaj Singh Ji, you're my Sadgurus, I love you. Hazur Maharaj Singh Ji, you're my Sadgurus, I adore you.
Mast Sirio has a song which title is Time is a Great Illusion. So now I just feel like this because we already arrived to the 4th episode of this our new season 3. Previous episode you told us the story how Sant Ji visited Italy for the first time as a master in the role of a master, which was a very short meeting with him at the airport of Rome, but very meaningful. So we could listen to the heart-touching description. And then how did your story with Sant Ji continue? Did he come back later on to Italy? Or did you go to India first? Or how things did proceed after this meeting at the airport with him?
Every year I went to India to have a retreat with him. Because for me it was very vital, very important. I was really determined to go very deep in the path and not fool around, not play with it, but wanting to really realize what the path offers. That means self-realization and God's realization. So I try to organize my life in such a way that I could every year go to India. Sometimes it was not easy because of life situations, family situations, but I never allowed anything to interfere and to impede me from going. At the beginning I was not married, of course, I was not yet married. In 1977-78 I was still single. And so I could organize my life the way I wanted. So after the Sant Ji's visit, in a short visit in Italy, Rome airport, as I described in my past, in the past podcast, I plan to go to India in February 1978. Usually always when most of the times I went in that period because it was the most appropriate for me and for the other Italians. So in February 1978 together with 8 other Italian friends, Satsangis. They were already initiated because Sanji asked Russell Perkins to come to Italy and convey the initiation instructions to those who were interested in getting initiation. So Russell came and 6 people were initiated. And among these 6 people there was my mother also, who was also initiated on that occasion. So
and when did you begin initiations yourself?
Yeah, when Russell came, he told me, Sanji told me that from now on you will be giving initiation here. So he gave me the instructions according to the way Master Kripal used to give initiation. Actually, he sent them to me before he came, so I translated them already in Italian. And when he came, I already had them translated, so I could read them out to the people. It was the first time I attended an initiation without the master. An initiation in which I was the person conveying it. But it was helpful having Russell together, so he read it in English because there was a non-speaking Italian among the initiates, the people to be initiated, and I read it in Italian. So those people, most of those people came to India in February 1978.
Your mom as well?
No, my mom, no. She came only once, and it was in 1979, the following year. She was already pretty old at the time, so she managed to come once. Anyway, so we went to India. There were some people from abroad also. There was a boy from Austria, Albrecht Zenin, who was a good friend of mine. Then there was there were 3 ladies from Malta, and we Italians. So we were some 12 people all together.
Very intimate group with Sanji.
Yes, but then there would be the Americans also.
Ah, okay. I thought only 20 of you.
The thing is, when we arrived in Delhi, the Americans didn't arrive, and they had problems catching the flight. So it was postponed their trip for I think 2 or 3 days, and we were in Delhi waiting, thinking what to do. Papu didn't know what to do. If waiting for the Americans, which would be 3 days, and we staying there in Delhi doing nothing. Doing nothing. The purpose was to be with Sanji, not to be in Delhi. So
yes, of course.
So that was not the best thing to do for us, because then our program, anyway, we had to come back on a certain date because we had the booked flight already for that date. Mm-hmm. And that meant staying 3 days less at the ashram.
Yes, then it's not nice.
So we convinced Papu to take us to Rajasthan and then come back and wait for the Americans, and then again come back to Rajasthan with the American group. And at first he was in 2 minds about what to do, but then I don't know if he sent a telegram to Sanji asking what to do, but then eventually anyway he made up his mind. So he took us to Rajasthan, and that meant of course that very long trip of taking a train from Delhi up to Ganganagar. Then,
but couldn't the Americans go by themselves? Why Papu was needed?
No. Sanji wouldn't allow such a thing. The groups were very well taken care of, and Papu should be always there facing any difficulties,
well,
any
nice.
challenge. So he took us. Then yes, there was from Ganganagar to the ashram, there were 3 hours driving with the jeep again, because Sanji was still staying in Satatararbi, which was a long trip. So we went to Satatararbi, And when we arrived, we were just the 12 of us, and we came down from the jeep, and I was the first person to enter into the ashram. The other people actually had never been in Rajasthan, so they didn't really know how the situation was, what to do, what not to do. So they just followed me. So I went into the gate, I entered into the ashram, and Sanji was there in the courtyard waiting for us. So I ran to him, and really with full heart I greeted him. And there something very beautiful happened, really. It was again one of those wonderful darshans, as I described already in my first trip when I went to Rajasthan, when Sanji came to Rome, when he stopped at the airport. And again, more or less the same thing happened, but it was, of course, kind of different, because it's never the same. Inner experiences, although they are very similar, but they're never the same. Always there is some aspect which comes up, which is different than any other you might have had before. So for this I would like to read more. When I went to Rajasthan, usually I always wrote a diary. So also during this trip I wrote a diary, and especially this first darshan is well described here in this part of my book. All of this has been published then in my autobiography. So I'm going to read directly from the book. It's in Italian, so I try to translate in English. He says, when we reached the ashram in Satararbi, we left the jeeps and went into the courtyard, where we saw Sanji standing there waiting for us. I ran to him and I greeted him with all my heart. He looked into my eyes, and what an extraordinary effect that glance produced. Eventually, Sanji went away. We were given our rooms. I went inside the room, sat on the bed, and I was caught in such a peculiar condition which I had never experienced before. I closed my eyes and I just watched the deepness of my being. And as far as I could watch, in every corner of my consciousness, I couldn't find a trace of or a stain of any evil, any dark side, nothing like that. Nirmala means stainless, without a stain, immaculate. And this word, this name, applies very well to the condition, to the amazing condition in which I was just uplifted by one single glance of his. In one of his bhajans, Sanji says, the master had to become a washerman in order to clean our souls. Well, I just felt this, that his glance, it was like a detergent, a very powerful one, which with just one touch had freed my being of all possible dirt. I felt such a gratitude, and I was overwhelmed by such a powerful emotion. It was like this cry, this weeping, it was emanating from my intestines, and all my being was shaken by very powerful sobs. What a strange effect produces the contact with God. Either you're put in a state of intoxication in which you cannot do anything but laugh or dance like a mad person, or you just burst into such a weeping, such a cry, such a liberatory cry, so deep and felt that even if together would your parents die or the most dear people to you, you will not weep with that intensity. That experience was one of the most beautiful that I had ever had up to that point. Something very near to beatitude, supreme beatitude, and undefiled purity. So this is how this program became for me.
Very beautiful description, very heart-touching.
And this I wrote right away, I think the same evening or anyway in those days. So it's very much authentic and very much real according to what really happened. So nothing I add and nothing I take off, it's just the way it happened. So the program started like this. In the afternoon we had a meditation with Sanji around 3 o'clock, 3:30. And so there was a new Satsang hall which was just built during that time from 1977 to 1978. So we went inside and Sanji asked me, "Oh, Sirio, how is your meditation going?" And he said, "I'm doing my best and I'm very satisfied with it." And so we had this meditation sitting then, and Sanji always, before any meditation, he always said, "Please close your eyes, meditate with love, do your meditation with love, don't understand it as a burden, do it with love because it works only if it is done with love." So I felt like swimming in a sea of light. It was so because after that experience which I just had, I was so uplifted that this meditation, it was a continuation of that experience. So I was in such a blissful state, such a wonderful and uplifted condition. Then in the evening we had satsang with him. Something very funny happened, because when I was in Rome, Satsang gave me a bag of walnuts. He asked me to bring them to Sanji and as a present. So when I entered into the room that evening, I had this bag with me, and I sat right there in front of Sanji. So he kept looking to this bag and looking at me, and he was very curious of what's this bag, what you have in that bag. So he kept looking at me and at the bag, and eventually he said, "What do you have in that bag? What's there?" So he said, "Well, this is a bag of walnuts which was given to me by a Satsang in Rome to give to you as a present." So he took the bag, looking into it, and then he said, "Well, we will wait for the American Satsangis to come, and then we will distribute them as prasad." So that's how it was. It was a very nice evening, very beautiful. I was always so very happy to be with him and to just watch his face, look into his face, into his eyes. So I felt always very uplifted, very happy, joyful, inebriated, everything when I was with him. So anyway, the program went on. It was a very intense program, as always. Eventually the Americans arrived, and so we became a group of some 25, 30 people, I don't remember exactly. And satsang every evening, meditations, 3 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock with Sanji, then interviews and this and that. And by and by, I realized during that program that Sanji became more and more distant with me. In the beginning, he was very, very loving, giving me lots of attention, but then eventually I noticed that he was more and more withdrawing and kind of telling me with his eyes, with his attitude, and with what he was telling in satsang, or sometimes answering questions of other people, which I felt always directed to me. Because when I was with Sanji, I always had this understanding that what he's telling is just for me, and everybody else will take it the way they want. But what he's telling, his words are for me, so it's his teaching to me. So whenever he gave satsang, whenever he answered questions of other people, I always took it very personal. And in that way I understood that he was telling me, you need to grow and improve and become a man. I was still a boy. I was 26 years old. So he wanted me to, I really understood it, that he wanted me to grow and become a real man. A man capable of facing situation, be strong and keep going no matter what. So this was quite tough for me at first when I noticed this attitude of his towards me. I understood it. I understood that I needed to improve, to change, to be a more capable person, a more stable person, strong. But understanding something and put it into practice and applying it to your life is not the same. Understanding is the first step. Then you have to change your habits, you have to change your attitude, you have to change your personality somehow. So, yeah, at some point, this tough situation I had to face, and my mind became somehow rebellious. So it was quite a lesson, this trip, really. It was the beginning of real teaching, I would say, because up to that point I never really experienced a situation like this with a master. With Master Kirpal was nothing like that for me. Master Kirpal, I stayed with him for some 2 weeks, first time in 1973, some 2 weeks in 1974. There were many people, so I didn't have this close, face-to-face, person-to-person relation with him. There were so many people. I was just one in a sea of people. So I couldn't take it very personally, whatever he said. Most of them, moreover, Master Kirpala didn't really understand his satsang because he didn't speak English. So it was a totally different situation. In Master Kirpala, I was so uplifted in such a blissful state. There were no teachings. There was only bliss. Bliss and love. But with Sanji now, I realize, my God, this is a guru and I am the disciple here and I have to learn. He is giving me lessons, he is teaching me, and he's making me understand what he wants me to be rather than what I am. So I have to grow here now. The man-making work begins.
Yes, I was just thinking of this term, as Master Kripa used to express it, the man-making process.
Yeah.
Like also said Master Kripa, maybe I don't properly quote it, but like it's easy to see God, but it's very difficult to become a real man.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how it went. The program was very intense, sometimes very painful, very suffering because of this distance which I experienced with him. Is being distant, and Sanji could really be distant. He could really be cruel sometimes. And he could be like like a surgeon, making the cuts which are needed to be done, right to the bones. So eventually the program ended. Of course, there was always a point during these programs which were always very thought-provoking and very deep, profound. There was always a point, which was most of the time the interview with him, in which everything changed, and again this flow of love began, and this tough facing oneself transformed and changed into this flow of love and blissful state. And then at the end there was this monthly satsang in which the Indian satsangis came, so there were several hundreds of them, and it was like a celebration. It was like a kind of a party,
Oh, nice.
So at the end, the whole program was structured in such a way that at the end you would be at the best of yourself, and you would be such uplifted, yes, and leave the ashram eventually in a very happy, uplifted, joyful condition.
It's like an Ayurvedic treatment somehow, because also in Ayurveda that one first does the
it's like panchakarma, yes.
Then does the tough things, and then before the person begins to suffer too much or feel too bad, then does the pleasing actions again.
Yeah, it's like a cleansing process which is not of the body. With Ayurveda you have a cleansing process of the body, but a retreat with the master is a cleansing process for the soul, for the spirit, for your consciousness,
for the mind as well, probably, maybe.
Yeah, of course, probably. For the mind is mostly creating troubles and problems.
Oh, then let's say that to clean the consciousness from the mind.
Yes. So that's the problem during the retreat. The mind that becomes an enemy somehow, becomes an uncooperative element in you, doesn't want you to be free, doesn't want you to be blissful, to be happy and realized. The mind doesn't like this. The mind wants to keep you under its domain. So the mind becomes the enemy most of the time.
So once we should dedicate a full episode to this. Why? But now I don't ask you, because then it's a great deviation from the story where we are. So then did you reach to the end of this retreat happily?
Yes, at the end I was happy anyway, beautiful. The monthly satsang was very beautiful. And
so was it the end of the program? Just the last day, the monthly satsang, and then the next day you had to leave the ashram?
Yes. And as far as I remember, on that occasion, Sanji asked me to translate the monthly satsang, which he usually never did. But on that occasion, he wanted me to translate it. So there was he speaking in Punjabi, Papu translating in English, and me translating into Italian. I think he wanted to teach me how to translate. That's why he asked me to translate the monthly satsang.
He wanted to check if you were eating enough almonds. You said in that episode when you first met him, and he thought to your friends, give him almonds to strengthen his voice.
Yes, that's true, yes. Anyway, no, it was a matter of really learning how to speak in front of so many people and do a good translation, so be effective. And this you learn by doing it, by and by. And it was very important for me. Everything I do now, I've been learning it by doing it. So Sanjay put me always in situations in which I was compelled to learn something and to learn how to do this spiritual work, because that's the thing. We come on the path, we practice, we face the relation with the master, we learn things, we grow, we improve, And we are taught also how to become a messenger somehow, how to convey the teachings. Because if you learn a skill, then you must be able to teach this skill to the other people. Otherwise, you didn't learn the skill. Mm-hmm. So on the path also is the same. You have to learn, first of all, how to apply the path to yourself and transform yourself, grow and improve. Then learn how to convey the teachings and the path, the method to other people and be effective. Otherwise, you're never, let's say, a teacher, professor. You're always a student.
Yes, it's very important to face problems, but to face problems one has to first meet them and then can give the advice. Like it's often happening also in the Sangha that people who are new on the path, then they begin to ask the others, and then it's difficult what to say if you don't know what you talk.
But people always pretend that they know, even when they don't know. So they like giving advice. They don't like getting advice, but they like giving advice. Most of the people are like this. So anyway, that's how it went. So I began learning. I began learning how to be a good satsangi, how to become an effective satsangi, how to make the teachings my own, and begin conveying them to others. That was the first step in this direction during that program.
And then, was there, after this monthly satsang, was there any other meeting with Sanji, or?
No, we went to Delhi, and of course the Americans didn't live with us. They stayed I think 2 more days.
Because they came later.
Because they came late. Yeah. So we went back to Delhi, and.
But then it was not the same for them, because it must have been very nice to stay there with Sanji, so few of them. But then, as you described, it must have been very nice closing the program with this big celebration with so many people.
Yeah. Anyway, we went back to Delhi, then took the flight and went back home. That was the whole thing for that year, nothing more.
And was it ever mentioned the new visit of Sanji to Italy on that occasion?
Not yet on that occasion. Next year, in 1979.
So was it in 1979 when you next met him?
Next time I met him was in 1979, yes. And that was very special because I had bought the ashram already. When I went back to India, I already bought this place, and so there was a lot of teaching to be learned again. Yes, teachings to be learned about his coming to Italy and the program which was to be organized. So teachings about how to do that and also to proceed with this.
Was this your visit to India again in February?
Yes, it was again in February. Yes, but I went to Bombay also next year. So first I went to Bombay, and then to Rajasthan. Yeah.
So you went to India twice in 79? Did you?
No, it was the same.
On the same occasion.
The same occasion. First I went to Bombay for Sanji's program there. Then together we went to Delhi. There was a small program in Delhi. Then Sanji went to Rajasthan, and then when the group arrived, the Americans and the other Europeans also, together we went to Rajasthan. So there was also a long program for me. It was a long time.
A lot to tell. Maybe we leave it for the next episode because it sounds
better.
Very exciting, but probably it requires more time. So thank you very much, dear Master, to recall all these your beautiful and uplifting memories and tell them personally to me and to everyone who listens to this podcast. And I would like to thank to everybody for all the positive feedback that you're leaving for the podcast. And I can just say again, please don't miss to subscribe, follow the podcast, and if you like it, leave a comment. And next episode, as always, comes after 2 weeks. We continue with the next spiritual adventure to India, with traveling to India. And as always, to close this episode, we can now listen to a song by Mast Sirio, written and sang by him. O Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal. O Ajaib, sing the song to Kirpal. O Ajaib, sing the song to Kirpal, then the nectar will start to flow. With the sweetness of your voice, you make our minds ecstatic. Delightful were the moments in which you opened your mouth, and with the melody of your voice, the air you filled with sweet notes. We listened enraptured, constantly looking at your eyes. Bliss invaded us. Joy pervaded our hearts. Your song was the essence of the teachings of the saints. With it, you told us your story, comprised of torment, ecstasy, and lamenting. Your love story with the Sadguru Kirpal was an example that we want to emulate, that in our life we want to implement. Now we too have become mad with our Babaji, just as he was intoxicated with his Sadguru Kirpalji. O Ajaib, sing the song to Kirpal, then the nectar will start to flow. With the sweetness of your voice, you make our minds ecstatic.
O Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal, allora il nettare comincerà a fluire con la dolcezza della tua voce, ci estasi la mente. Incantevoli erano i momenti in cui tu aprivi la bocca e con la melodia della tua voce l'aria riempivi di dolci note. Incantevoli erano i momenti in cui tu aprivi la bocca e con la melodia della tua voce l'aria riempivi di dolci note. O Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal, allora il nettare comincerà a fluire con la dolcezza della tua voce, ci estasi la mente. Noi ascoltavamo estasiati, guardando costantemente i tuoi occhi, la beatitudine ci invadeva, la gioia il cuore pervadeva. Noi ascoltavamo stavamo estasiati, guardando costantemente i tuoi occhi, la beatitudine ci invadeva, la gioia e il cuore pervadeva. O Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal, allora il nettare comincerà a fluire con la dolcezza della tua voce, ci estasi la mente, il tuo canto era l'essenza degli insegnamenti dei santi, con esso ci narravi la tua storia, fatta di tormenti, estasi e lamenti. Il tuo canto era l'essenza degli insegnamenti dei santi, con esso ci narravi la tua storia, fatta di tormenti, estasi e lamenti. O Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal, allora il nettare comincerà a fluire con la dolcezza della tua voce, ci estasi la mente, il tuo romanzo d'amore con il Sadguru Kirpal è stato un esempio che vogliamo emulare e nella nostra vita poter attuare. Il tuo romanzo d'amore con il Sadguru Kirpal è stato un esempio che vogliamo emulare e nella nostra vita poter attuare. O Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal, allora il nettare comincerà a fluire con la dolcezza della tua voce, ci estasi la mente. Ora siamo pure noi diventati folli del nostro Babaji, come lui era folle del suo Satguru Kirpalji. Ora siamo pure noi diventati folli del nostro Babaji, come lui era folle del suo Sadguru Kirpalji. O Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal, allora il nettare comincerà a fluire con la dolcezza della tua voce, ci estasi la Ajaib canta il canto a Kirpal, allora il nettare comincerà a fluire con la dolcezza della tua voce. Ci estasi la mente con la dolcezza della tua voce. Ci estasi